Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming. This WideNet U is going to teach you a lot about writing, and this is Matthew Tyson. He works in our digital marketing department, and we hope you really enjoy it and learn some great stuff. There is a handout in front of you to take notes and pay attention because Matt's going to ask some awesome questions, and if you answer right first, you get one of these really cool WideNet to-go mugs. So thanks so much for coming, and Matt is going to take it over.
Hey, like you said, I'm Matt. I am the writer, copy editor, blogger here at WideNet. Today we're talking about writing, blogging, some tips on creating content for your website or your blog, whatever you might need writing for. Writing is one of the few mediums that's able to survive and adapt to the changing technologies. It's always needed, it's always necessary. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get started, a couple things. Like she said, you have the questions there. That's just for you to follow along. Most of my presentation is pretty text-based because my creative power lies in writing and not in design. So also, I tend to talk pretty fast sometimes. So if at any point you need me to slow down or repeat something, please just say so. That's totally fine. So has anyone in here ever said or thought that they can't write at all? Show of hands, anybody? A lot of people think that they can't or say they're not very good at writing, but the truth is it's like anything else. Anybody can be good at writing. Anybody can write well. It's just a matter of practice and a matter of knowing what you're doing. And so what we're going to have today is just some tips that are really going to help you get on the path to writing effectively. So the secrets to great writing. This is Stephen King. Most of you probably recognize, one of the more profound writers from the 20th century. It says, when asked, how do you write, I invariably answer one word at a time, and the answer is invariably dismissed, but that is all it is. It sounds too simple to be true, but consider the Great Wall of China, if you will. One stone at a time, that's all. And that's pretty much it, just one word at a time. That's all you really have to do. So the secrets to great writing are: read and write every single day, write honestly and simply, remember that less is always best, be mindful of your grammar, write it and then leave it, and then open yourself to criticism. And those are the points we're going to be going over today. At the end, we're also going to talk a little bit about email etiquette as well. So reading and writing every day. Like we said, in order to be an effective writer, you have to write. It's a practice. The more you do it, the better you become at it. It doesn't matter what you're writing, you just need to be doing it. That can be a poem or a short story or a brainstorming session. Whatever it is, just always be writing. Sometimes if you find yourself stuck on a project, it helps to go write about something else. Frees your mind up a little bit, lets you keep the gears moving. You said not everyone is Hemingway. We're going to be talking a little bit about Hemingway because his writing style influences a lot of what we do online, content creation, blogging, journalism, things of that nature. Plus, he was the greatest writer of the 20th century. But he had a great, almost natural talent for writing. Very few people do. You have to work at it. And reading is the other thing. If you're not writing, you should be reading. Because reading opens you up to different writing styles. It expands your vocabulary. It gives you new types of information. It's like watching film in the locker room. I mean, it helps keep your mind going, keeps you involved in a literary realm. And don't just read books. Read anything, blogs, articles, especially something that relates to your business. So if you're in a digital marketing business like we are constantly getting emails from people around the office about, check out this blog, check out this article, check out this technological advantage, whatever. So it's good to keep doing that. And then also, you let the style influence your voice. It's okay to imitate writers that you like. I do it all the time, but you want to do it in your own voice. So it's good to, it's actually a great way to start. Find somebody you really like, find a writer you really, really, really like, and just imitate their style. There's no shame in that. Hemingway said, write the best story you can and write it as straight as you can. So that's what we're talking about with honest and simple writing. When we say write honestly, we mean write only what is true. Do not embellish. With your business or whatever you're writing for, probably not writing fiction. the story is already there. There's no reason to add anything to it. Your job is to just put the story together in a text format and write only what is helpful. That's the honest writing we're talking about. Is don't you don't have to put any frills on it. You don't have to, like I said, you don't have to embellish. You just say what you're saying, and then write simply. You're not writing a term paper. You're not writing a thesis. Your writing is communicating. Whenever you're blogging, whenever you're writing a brochure, whenever you're writing something for your website, you're communicating with an audience. So you want to be as universal as possible. Sometimes people like to try to throw in big complex words to try to make themselves sound smarter or to try to set themselves above, and that's really ineffective because the big complex words will make you sound detached, and sometimes they make you sound a little bit pretentious depending on what you're doing. There's no need to use them. If you know them, great, but in this kind of situation, you don't have to use big complex words, large sentences. You just, like I said, communicate, and don't fill space with useless words. This is something I struggle with sometimes, and a lot of people struggle with. You'll find a lot of writers hate adverbs. I have an example on that on the next page. Adjectives, unnecessary descriptors. If it's fluff, cut it. You don't need it. It takes away from your point, and it distracts the reader, and it keeps you from getting to the point you're trying to make. For example, if you want to say the little brown hen book was on the table. Don't say the diminutive compendium with a chestnut facade subsisted upon the lecture. It's pointless. You just say exactly what you need to say. Say, while at the zoo, we saw an elephant. Don't say, while at the zoo that was filled with animals, we saw an elephant that was really big. We know elephants are big. We know the zoo is full of animals. There's no need to have to go the extra mile and describe things like that. Again, it's just distracting. And to say the car is unique. Don't say the car is fairly unique. Nothing can be fairly unique. It's either unique or it's not unique. So people like to use, again, that's the adjectives and the adverbs. People like to do that. You don't. If he runs fast, you don't need to say he ran really, really fast. Fast is fast. So the next part is less is best. This is especially true for writing online these days. If you're writing a novel or even a newspaper article, depending on what you're writing about, this doesn't always apply, depending on the information you need to supply. But today, people don't read long prose on the internet. I don't know about you, but for me, if I click on a blog, the first thing I do is scroll down, and if it's really, really long with huge chunk, I'm talking huge chunk paragraphs, I don't read it. Unless it's something I'm extremely interested in reading, I don't bother with it. So I don't do that. My readers don't do that. Your readers probably don't do that. I know you guys probably don't do that. If it's super, super long, people don't read it. On the internet, people scan blogs for information. They scan your website for information. That's how people read these days. So rather than starting with the first word and just reading through it all, they scroll through and they look for things that catch their eye. They look for information that pops out at them. They read that. That is what's going to determine whether or not they want to read the whole blog, or they just want to get the main point of what you're trying to say. That's another hard thing as a writer sometimes, is understanding people don't really care that much about what you have to say. They just want to know, or they don't care so much how you say it. They just want to know what you're talking about. So when we talk about blogs, we talk about making them scannable. And what that means is making it so that when someone reads your blog or reads your website or whatever they're reading, they can easily scan it and they can find the information they're looking for. We'll have an example down on the next page. Get to the point and stay on topic. Don't bury the lead. The lead, L-E-D-E, that's a journalism term, which is just the point of the story, the thesis statement. Whatever you have to say, don't start with a huge, long background story or anything like that. Just get the point out there and get it across immediately, because again, people are there to find information. Say what needs to be said and stop. That's kind of what we talked about writing simply too. Once you say everything that needs to be said, don't say anymore. If you say it in 2 sentences or if you say it in 2 paragraphs, as long as you say everything that needs to be said, as long as you cover all the information that needs to be covered, there's no need to be repetitive. There's no need to keep going. You need to be able to trust your readers, and that's hard sometimes. However, there is such a thing as too brief. You can leave your readers wanting to know more information. And it's important that you make sure you say what you need to say, but say it in as few words as possible. This is an example of a scannable blog. I know it's kind of small if it's hard to see, but you can kind of see the outline there. This is one that we wrote. You'll notice that we have it broken up into headers. That's great for subject changes in the blog. You have your, a lot of blogs do this these days. They have their title for their opening paragraph, and then as they change subjects throughout the blog, they break it up and put a new header on it. When people do that, it allows readers to scroll through again and find what they're looking for. It also helps to break up the blog into the paragraphs you see. You notice there's no real long, big blocks of text there. It's short paragraphs. It's on individual thought. So someone can come to this blog. They can say, okay, this is a blog about paid advertising. They can scroll through, find what they're looking for, and if they want to read it, they can. If they don't, they won't. What it does, it helps capture readers. Again, like I said, it makes it more likely they'll come back and read the entire article because they want to know they're going to get something from it before they spend time reading it. They read 3 pages worth of a blog and then don't get the information they're looking for, they're not going to come back. They're going to be upset with that. They're going to move on and find someone who can give them what they're looking for. Grammar. This is a big one. Edgar Allan Poe, great Gothic romantic writer, said, "A man's grammar, like Caesar's wife, should not only be pure, but above suspicion of impurity." I think we see a lot of this on social media. I see it as gospel. Your grammar needs to be impeccable at all times. Minor mistakes here and there on like social media, text messages, personal things are okay, but in every situation, your grammar needs to be absolutely impeccable. This, could not stress this enough for when it comes to writing your website, writing your blog. There are some rules out there these days that you can be a little loose with, but we're not going to go over those because they don't really matter. The big thing about grammar is that if it's bad, it will ruin your credibility. When people come to your website, when people pick up your brochure, when they read whatever, when they visit you somehow and they see what you're writing, they want to know that you know what you're doing. They want to know that you can be trusted as a business before they do business with you. You have bad grammar, misspelled words, major mistakes. They see that and they're going to think, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. You know, they can't even get this. They can't even get this simple stuff right. How can I trust them with my money? How can I trust them to deliver a good product? It's distracting because people get caught up on the mistakes and then lose focus. And it costs money. It does cost money. In 2011, the BBC reported that bad grammar and spelling mistakes for businesses on websites in England were costing millions of dollars a year. It was costing people millions of dollars a year because people were, since we have the digital age, people do everything online now. They're going to these websites, they're seeing this bad grammar, they're seeing this misspelled word, and then they're done immediately. They're not giving that business the time of day at all. And businesses are losing money on advertising. They're losing money on all kind of things like that. So it will cost you. It's something you have to be focused on. But not everyone is a grammar ninja. I was an English major. I still struggle with grammar sometimes. There's a million rules. The English language is the hardest language to learn because there are 1,000 rules and then a million exceptions to those rules. So please make use of all available resources that you can find. These 3 right here, the Little Brown Handbook, which is actually this. I keep this in my office. Some of you were in honors English class ever. You might remember this. We use this in school, in high school. This is just an incredible tool to have. If you are handling content, if you are writing, I can't suggest having that enough. It's got almost everything you ever want to know in it. The AP Style Guide, is actually more for journalism, but a lot of journalism rules play into blog writing and content development in a lot of ways, so it helps. And then one of my favorite websites is grammarbook.com. It's just a great online resource that has everything. But there's all kind of available resources. Use them. If you're not sure about something before you post something, look it up. Google it. Look at it into a book. Whatever you have to do, make sure your grammar is right. Always, always, always have an extra set of eyes. I write blogs here. I'm the writer here, and I will write something, I will read it 5 times, and then I will send it to Katie, and then she'll immediately find a mistake. You're so used to what you're writing that you will miss even the most glaring error. You will, because it's your writing, and you're not, even if you're specifically looking for it, you'll miss it. When I edit my own stuff, I take my pencil and I print it out and I go word by word. It takes me an hour to read a page. Go word by word and I still mess it up. So always have someone proof and edit, because you're going to miss your own stuff. The WideNet rule here is 3 sets of eyes. Before anything gets posted, it sees 3 sets of eyes, and then it comes back to me and I reread it again just to make sure. So always. Now, there are a lot of grammar errors you see out there these days. I'm going over the most common ones you see. Not only these most common, but these are also are some of the most unforgivable grammar errors. So, for example, you have words like your, there, and there. All have different meanings. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E is a contraction of you and R. So you're going to have a blast at WideNet U. Your, Y-O-U-R, means possession. So that is your book. So if I say Y-O-U-R, going to have a blast at WideNet U, that makes absolutely no sense. There, and there. T-H-E-R-E denotes a place or a location, like he is over there. T-H-E-I-R, there, denotes a possession. Those kids need to take their medicine. And it's also used mostly plural. T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, there, is a contraction of they and are. So there they are going to the game tomorrow. Some more, affect and effect. Affect is an action or verb. How does this affect our campaign? Effect denotes a result or denotes a result or ability to cause a result. So these are the side effects. That was the effect, that kind of thing. Loose and lose. Loose is a state of being. It's the opposite of tight. My shoe is loose. Lose denotes something lost. I lose my keys all the time. Those are not interchangeable. People do it all the time, but they're not interchangeable. And then its and its. With no apostrophe, it denotes a possession. This website has its problems. With an apostrophe, it's a contraction of it and is. It's cold outside. So these are some of the most common errors. Next one is commas. People misuse commas a lot. There's some areas where people don't notice this, but there's some pretty glaring ones. These are the biggest ones. You want to always use commas in a series. If you're listing something, there is a bike, comma, a car, comma, and a freezer in my garage. Today, people say that second comma after car, the Oxford comma, isn't necessary anymore. I say that is complete heresy. And you should always use the Oxford comma, because if not, it doesn't make any sense. Because if I say there is a bike, comma, a car and a freezer in my garage, I am saying to a car and a freezer that there's a bike in my garage. Doesn't make any sense. Use them after introductory clauses. Introductory clause, like if you're stating a time or a place, basically. When it's time to go to bed, Big Bird can sleep almost anywhere. That's a sentence from my son's favorite children's book. It was in my head. You want to use them before a conjunction if a full sentence follows the conjunction. That's if the full sentence follows the conjunction. So I want to go home, but I don't want to leave just yet. I want to go home and I don't want to leave just yet are both complete sentences connected with the conjunction. And then use them when addressing someone. Let's eat, comma, Bill. If you don't have the comma, you're telling someone you want to eat some guy named Bill, and that's cannibalism. So the next big one, write it and leave it. This is a huge step, and this is probably what I think a lot of people struggle with the most when they write. This is hard for even me to get over sometimes. When you start to write something, you want to focus first on finishing. I call it word vomiting. You don't have to be that crude with it, but that's it's the best way I can think of. Write yourself silly. Just have your idea after you've done your brainstorming, and then just write. Don't edit. Don't worry about how it sounds. Don't worry about misspellings. Nothing. Just get a draft finished. That is the biggest obstacle. People call it writer's block. There's no such thing as writer's block. It's you getting in your own way. Just write. Whatever your idea is, just sit down, write. Don't overthink it. And give yourself plenty of time between when you start writing and when it's due. Like it says at the bottom, never write to publish immediately, because that's how people post terrible posts and blogs. Happens all the time. You see it all the time. You can look at a blog and tell they wrote this in 5 minutes and publish it immediately. Finish the rough draft first. Always finish first. Then step away and don't read it for a day, 2 days. At the very least, a few hours if you're on a timeline or a deadline. step away, and when you come back to it, you'll have fresh eyes. You've had time to go distract yourself with something else, work on something else. When you come back to it, it's like a brand new piece of writing you're reading. Then you can start to edit the process. So, and you'll catch all the mistakes. You can adjust for syntax. You can adjust for flow. It's gonna probably be terrible. Your first draft is probably always going to be terrible. That's just the way it is, but that's okay, because it's easier to work from something than from nothing. And if you write a paragraph and then read the paragraph and then try to edit that before moving on to your next paragraph, it's going to take you all day to finish something. Always finish first, then leave it, then come back to it and edit it. That's just the easiest way to do it, and the most effective way to do it. Another thing I don't have on here, but I thought about too, you can, setting micro goals for yourself when you're writing is really good practice if you have a hard time just getting motivated to do it. Micro goals, like sit down and just say, today I'm going to write 1 page or 50 words. Very small, very easily reachable goals. Doing that not only helps you get that sense of accomplishment, but you will finish something. If you say, I'm going to write 1 page a day, by the end of the week, you've got 7 solid pages written. At the same time, you finish your goal for the day and you think, I've got extra time. You can keep going. You've already completed what you set for yourself. So then you have, kind of gives you the freedom to open up and keep going without having to worry about it. So opening yourself up to criticism. This is difficult, but the number one cardinal truth of writing of anything is that not everyone is going to like your writing. There's a lot of people that don't like Hemingway. I don't get it, but they don't like him. You're never gonna please everybody. If the criticism is just negative for the sake of being negative, ignore it. There's no reason that's just someone trying to troll you or try to bring you down or be negative for the sake of it. Ignore it. There's no sense in trying to worry about it, because if you start to let the negativity get in, then you're going to get in your own way. You'll never finish a writing piece. Some people are just critics for the sake of being a critic, and that's it. But it's important that you see criticism as a good thing. No one likes being told what they did isn't any good. No one likes being told their writing isn't any good. No one likes it. Especially if you spent a lot of time working on something and then someone reads and goes, this is terrible, I hate this. But you need to see it as a good thing. And because writing is a consistent, ongoing practice. You're always getting better. If you think that you have learned all you can to learn about writing, that's bad. You want to always be trying to improve. It's a consistent practice. So you need to be open to it, because other people's criticism helps you get better. They tell you why don't you like this? What can I do to fix it? And you get a different perspective. Sometimes I get frustrated if I write something, even if it's good, and I get too many people telling me they like it. Because that's great. I'm glad I'm pleasing people, but at the same time, I always know I can be better. You can always be better. And so sometimes I'll ask, when I was in college, I used to go to some of my professors and give them something and tell them, please don't say anything positive about this. Please find all the bad things about it and tell me what they are. That's where you get to seeking criticism yourself. If you can learn to seek criticism yourself, not only will it help you get over the fear of being criticized, but it'll make you stronger, and it helps you move forward. But you want to make sure you find someone who's going to be honest, very honest with you about their writing. Find someone you can trust. I can trust Katie to tell me if something's bad or not. She's not gonna fluff it up or hold something back. She reads something, she doesn't like it, she just says, no, that's bad, I don't like that, do something else. And we work together, obviously we work on it, but she's very open and honest about it, and that's a good thing. You want somebody to do that. So criticism, like I said, criticism isn't fun. No one likes it, but you need to learn to like it, or you at least need to learn to respect it and know when it's constructive, know when it's positive, and use it. Okay, so before we talk about email, and we actually don't have much time left with this, but before we talk about email, were there any questions about the steps to writing? We'll have a chance for questions in a minute too, but if there's anything that crossed anyone's mind. Cool. So email and memo etiquette. There's just one slide, but there's plenty to say about it. First off, this is not email marketing. email marketing is something else, and the rules here don't always apply. Some of what we just talked about can be applied to email marketing, but again, that's a completely different thing. Just want to make sure we're not confused that this is professional email etiquette within your business, not emails that you're sending to people, clients, and stuff like that. Email and memo etiquette is important to me because, am I okay? Okay.
No, okay.
It's important because it sets a consistent, professional, mature tone for the workplace. I'm a big believer that you need to have a professional tone at the workplace. It's okay to be lax and to have an enjoyable workplace, but for the most part, your business, you need to run like a business. So email and memo etiquette, communication between the office is really important that you stay professional. Like I said, in rare cases, you can be more relaxed, but the safest thing to do is to just stay as professional as you possibly can. Starting with that, be extremely brief. When you're writing an email to someone in your business or a memo to someone with it internally, there's no need to describe anything. There's no need to try to warm them up. There's no need to make them laugh. Say what you have to say, exactly what you have to say, and then be done with it. Get to the point immediately. So if I need something from Katie, I write Katie an email, I need this, done. Never, ever use slang, emoticons, or acronyms in your email like YOLO or LOL or a smiley face, or don't write your boss and say, that's a dope quarterly report, homie. That's unnecessary. And it's not professional. And then always use your proper titles, greetings, and closings. So Mr., Miss, sincerely, regards. If you, I make a point to always say, if I'm writing something that needs to be like this, always Mr. Smith, never John, never Jack. Internally here, sometimes we usually do first name stuff, but we still try to keep it as professional as possible. Depending on your work environment, that's okay. But even if you do that, there's no need to go, what's up, dog? Or, hey, man, what's up? Just if I'm writing Katie an email, it starts with Katie, comma, that's it. Like I said, this is something that's just always been so important to me that I think is necessary. Like I said, it really helps keep a consistent professional tone, communication between people too. By staying professional, by staying brief, you eliminate the chances for confusion. You eliminate the chances for people to take things out of context. And that way, office communication stays as consistent and effective as possible. And that is pretty much everything I have. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to add? Did anybody find this helpful at all? Think you can utilize this? Okay, so like Katie said, we have three. I'm going to ask three questions from the thing. Four? I'm going to do four? Okay, I'll ask another one here. Whoever can answer, oh yeah, we have four there. Whoever can answer it first with the best answer gets a mug. And they're great mugs. I have one in my office. Okay, so first question, why should you read and write every day?
Makes you a better writer.
Right.
Makes it easy.
Yes, good job.
I got it. You do your question.
Okay. Two, when it comes to writing, and now you're disqualified. You can't have all the mugs. Two, when it comes to writing, why is less best?
It helps eliminate confusion.
Good job.
Gets to the point.
Right. All right. What are some of the negative effects? And I guess they're all negative, but what are the negative effects of bad grammar?
It ruins your credibility.
Big time. And then lastly, what did I say is the #1 cardinal truth about your writing and criticism?
No one will always like all of that.
Correct.
Awesome. So that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for coming. And our next WideNet U will be on building and no, we're videoing, so I should leave stuff in front of it while I'm talking. So the next WideNet U is going to be on building a brand reputation plan, and it'll be the third Wednesday in January like normal here. So make sure you guys can sign up to pre-register, or we will have the online registration open by the 1st. All right, thank you.